I'm George, born into a family with more zeros in their bank accounts than a bank teller's screen at closing time. You might think that meant private jets and fancy champagne for breakfast. Not quite. While my sisters, Nancy and Mia, were gifted trust funds and luxury cars before they even hit driving age, I got the family mantra: work harder, George, achieve on your own merit. Dad's voice would echo through our mansion like a motivational speaker on repeat. Mom, always impeccably dressed in designer labels, would nod, her diamond earrings catching the light, adding, "It builds character, dear." But then, one crisp autumn evening, everything changed. I overheard a conversation from behind the grand doors of my dad's study. Words like debt and bankruptcy slipped out like whispers of a ghost. I heard my mom's usually calm voice tremble. "What are we going to do?" she asked. Dad's reply was grave. "We'll figure it out, but don't tell the kids, especially not George." Nancy and Mia were shielded, cushioned by their trust funds. Me, I was left in the dark, but that was about to change. Fueled by a mix of betrayal and resolve, I decided to dig deeper. If they thought they could keep this secret, pretending life was perfect, they were wrong. The truth was coming out. The next day, I walked into the bank, pretending it was just another routine checkup on my non-existent trust fund. Mr. Thompson, the bank manager who always had a soft spot for our family, didn't know what hit him. "Hey, Mr. Thompson, how's everything at home? Kids must be in college by now, right?" I asked, easing into the conversation. He smiled, his voice low as he responded, "Actually, George, there's been some substantial activity on your parents' accounts. I probably shouldn't say much, but loans, withdrawals, things aren't looking too great." Bingo, the first crack in the illusion. Later, I overheard my mom, frantic on the phone with someone who definitely wasn't a friend. "We need to consolidate everything. If this leaks before we're ready, it'll ruin us," she said, panic creeping into her normally poised tone. At dinner that night, the charade continued. Nancy boasted about some extravagant purchase, while Mia was planning yet another overseas trip. "Must be nice," I muttered under my breath. "What did you say, George?" Nancy shot me a look, fork halfway to her mouth. "Oh, nothing," I said with a fake smile. "Just glad to see everyone's doing so well. Wish we could all share in that stability." My parents exchanged uneasy glances. Dad cleared his throat. "We're proud of how independent you are, George." "Yeah, independence is great," I retorted, "but a little support wouldn't hurt." I wasn't about to reveal everything yet, but the game had begun, and I wasn't going down without a fight. The family reunion was the perfect stage for my reveal. The room was filled with clinking glasses, fake laughter, and hollow cheer. As everyone raised their glasses for a toast, I took my chance. "To family," I began, my voice steady, "to the bonds that hold us together and the truths that define us." A chorus of cheers followed, but I wasn't done. "And to the hard truths, like the fact that while some of us have been handed everything, the rest of us are standing on a sinking ship." Silence. My mom's face drained of color. "George, what are you talking about?" she asked, her voice shaking. "I'm talking about the debt, Mom, the debt you and Dad have been hiding, the one that's threatening to take everything down." Nancy and Mia stared at me, confusion written all over their faces. Panic spread across the room. Dad stood abruptly, his voice rising. "George, this is neither the time nor the place." "But it's the truth, isn't it?" I challenged, pulling out a stack of bank statements. "Here, proof. You've been borrowing against your assets, burying yourselves in debt to maintain an illusion." Nancy snatched the papers from my hand, her eyes scanning them in disbelief. "This can't be right. Are our trust funds, are they compromised?" "Yes," I confirmed, locking eyes with her. "Mia too, all to keep up appearances." Mia stood, fury blazing across her face. "You knew about this and let us spend like fools? What kind of brother does that make you?" "The kind who wants to wake you up," I snapped back. "We're all in this mess together because of the choices they made." I gestured to our parents. "Not me." The room erupted into chaos. My parents scrambled to calm everyone down, promising private talks, but the damage was done. Trust, the foundation our family was built on, had cracked wide open. As the evening spiraled into an argument, I stepped back. The truth was out, the fantasy shattered, and the real family reunion had just begun. In the days that followed, the silence from my family was deafening. I had become the pariah, The whistleblower who had dared to pull back the curtain. I moved out, leaning on a few loyal friends for support. One day, I received a text from Nancy, the first message since everything fell apart. "You've destroyed this family. Don't expect any of us to forgive you." I stared at the screen, feeling the weight of my choices. After a moment, I replied, not expecting anything to change. I revealed the truth for all of us. "Nancy, I hope someday you'll understand." No response. With the family ties severed, I focused on the one thing I could still control: my future. I poured myself into building something real, something grounded in honesty. That's when I started my financial advisory blog. My first post read, "Managing money isn't about how much you have, it's about making smart decisions." The feedback was overwhelming. People were craving real advice, something I had never gotten from my own family. As my blog gained traction, readers reached out. "Thank you, George," one message said. "Your advice on managing debt helped me get back on my feet. How did you learn so much?" I replied, "Sharing only the essentials of my journey. Life taught me the hard way. Glad I could help." Another message came from Amanda Reed. "Your posts on financial independence are inspiring. Going it alone is tough, right?" "It is, Amanda," I replied. I responded, though it wasn't easy. There was a sense of satisfaction in building something of my own, something no one could ever take away. Strangers, people I'd never met, had become more meaningful to me than my own family. Over the months, my blog evolved from a simple website into a community. People from all walks of life opened up about their financial struggles and triumphs, offering a stark contrast to the empty success my family had paraded for years. One evening, I hosted a webinar called Truth in Finances. Hundreds of viewers tuned in, eager to hear what I had to say. "You have to face the hard truths," I told them. "Just like in life, you can't sweep debt under the rug. It's better to confront it, restructure, and move forward." The applause that followed felt real, genuine, earned recognition, the kind that money can never buy. Despite the rift with my family, the efforts I put into building an honest platform had paid off. Living far from their wealth and influence, I hadn't just survived, I had thrived. That night, as I closed my laptop, the loneliness seemed a little less sharp. The path I had chosen was my own, but it was one forged with real connections and authentic achievements. What once felt like isolation had transformed into independence, a price I was willing to pay for a life built on integrity. Months later, the news hit like a tidal wave. Prominent business family faces bankruptcy, assets seized. My parents, once the pillars of the community, were now symbols of mismanagement and hidden debts. The fallout wasn't just theirs to carry. Nancy and Mia's trust funds evaporated like morning mist. I read the articles over my morning coffee, the bitter taste mingling with a mix of vindication and sorrow. My phone buzzed incessantly with messages from blog readers. One from Jenna stood out. "George, I saw the news about your family. How are you holding up?" I quickly typed back, "Thanks for checking in, Jenna. It's tough, but it reinforces everything I believe in: transparency, responsibility, and financial stability." As my blog continued to grow, so did my reputation as a voice of reason amidst financial chaos. Invitations to speak at conferences and guest appearances on financial podcasts became regular occurrences. My message remained simple: integrity over affluence. During one live podcast, the host asked, "George, how do you maintain trust with your audience, considering your family's situation?" "I believe in being upfront," I replied. "The downfall of my family, due to hidden debts, only strengthens my resolve to promote financial honesty and resilience." The support from my community was overwhelming, propelling my blog to new heights. It became a trusted resource for people navigating their own financial storms. One evening, after wrapping up another successful webinar, a message appeared from Mia, the last person I'd expected to hear from. "Hey, George, can we talk?" I hesitated but called her back. "Mia, what's going on?" There was a long pause, followed by a heavy sigh. "I owe you an apology. You were right about everything. I was so caught up in the perks that I didn't see the cost. I'm sorry for how things went down at the reunion." Hearing Mia admit her mistakes brought a sense of closure I hadn't anticipated. "Thanks, Mia, that means a lot. It's been tough for all of us," I said, surprised by the weight lifting off my shoulders. "Yeah, it has. Maybe you can help me fix my finances? I've got a lot to learn." "And you seem to have figured things out," she said, a hint of hope in her voice. "I'd be glad to help, Mia. Let's take it one step at a time, I replied, a smile creeping through the old resentments. As we ended the call, a sense of peace settled over me. While my family ties might never return to what they once were, this small step with Mia signaled that forgiveness could be possible, that it could be the foundation of something new. Through the trials and successes of my blog, I realized that while I had distanced myself from my family's wealth, I had created something far more valuable, a legacy of resilience and ethical behavior. As I closed my laptop that night, preparing for another day of writing and advising, I knew that success wasn't just about what you accumulate, but about what you stand for. That's where George's journey with family, truth, and financial independence ends. But here's a thought to reflect on: is it justifiable to reveal family secrets for the greater good? Or should loyalty to family come first, no matter the cost?